Okay, here we go. One-step equations. And so an equation is a math sentence that does contain a what? More, not a number or letter, something else, because it's an equation. What's the root word in equation? So it has an equal sign. That's why it's not an expression, it's an equation, because it has an equal sign. The goal of solving an equation is to find the value of the variable. What's a variable? A letter. That's a letter. A variable is a letter. It varies. X can be 1, X can be 100. It varies. That's why it's a variable. I mean, it could be a letter, it could be a box, it could be a question mark, but it is a symbol, an unknown symbol. Okay, to do this, how do I solve for the variable? To do this, you need to undo what was done to the variable. You need to undo it. How do I undo it? I use inverse operations. We have an inverse property for addition and multiplication in 1.3 properties. We had an inverse property. We're going to use those two inverse properties to help us solve equations. What's the inverse operation to add 3? Subtract 23. What about the inverse operation for subtract 18? Add 18. Notice how you do the opposite sign when it's adding and subtracting. What about the inverse operation for multiplying by negative 15? What's the opposite of multiplying by negative 15? Dividing by what? Dividing by negative 15. If it's being multiplied by negative 15, I divide by negative 15. I only change the sign when it's adding and subtracting. That's when you do adding and subtracting or subtracting and adding. Those undo each other. What about dividing by 8? Multiply by 8. If it's divided by a negative number, I still divide by a negative number. Example 1, we're solving addition and subtraction equations. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, where's the variable? You got to focus in on the variable. The variable can be on the left-hand side of the equal sign, or the variable can be on the right-hand side of the equal sign. It doesn't matter. It can be on either side. So you zoom in on the variable. Okay, I see it. It's on the left. Well, what is done to the variable? What's being done? Y is being added by 3. How can I undo that? Subtract 3. So what we have here is we have an equation. This equal sign says that everything on the left-hand side is equal to whatever's on the right-hand side. It's a balance. I just did this. I subtracted 3. Am I still balanced? How do I balance it? How do I balance that equation? I need to do the same thing to the other side. I need to subtract 3 from both sides. Some people like to put a line right here, especially when we get into multi-step equations. This is just a one-stepper. We have multi-step equations, and some people like to put a line there because it really helps them remind them that there's two sides of the equation here. What happens to positive 3 and negative 3? I have $3. I spent $3. How much do I have left, James? 0. They're canceling each other out. A positive 3 and a negative 3 cancel each other. I bring my y down. I keep my equal sign lined up. And then I just do what the other side says. It says 10 minus 3. Y equals 7. Y is not unknown anymore. Now, you can always get 100 on all your homework, quizzing, and tests because of this kind of algebra. I can check my answer. Y is not unknown anymore. On the first assignment, I make you check all the time, but after that, you get to choose, and I give bonus when you do choose to check. Okay, the first thing it says to do for a check is write down the original equation. So we have y plus 3 equals 10. Substitute blank for y. What am I going to substitute for y? We just found out it was 7, so I'm going to substitute 7 for the y. So here's my y. So I'm going to put 7 in for the y, substitute it in, and write down everything else that's there. Now I just have one side of the equation I need to finish simplifying. 7 plus 3 equals, okay, I get a statement that says 10 equals 10. Is that a true or false statement? It's true. 10 equals 10. What else is it going to equal? Right? So that's a check. What do you think would happen if I got a statement that says 9 equals 10? What does that mean to the student? It's what's wrong? Where I solved. So let me tell you right now, don't do this. Do not fake a check. This is half the problem to solve and half the check. If you change your check to a true statement when it's not true, that means you get the check wrong and you get the problem wrong. Just leave it. If you don't want to go back and check your work, that's fine. Nobody says you have to do it. So if you get 9 equals 10, you're like, I'm good. I don't care. It's fine. I'm sure I have other ones right. That's fine. Leave it then. Don't fake it. There. It says 9 equals 10, you leave it. You're not going to get that wrong. It's right because you know your answer is wrong. Okay, so don't fake it. All right, here we go. Now, moving on to example 2. It says -2 equals y minus 7. It says zoom in on the variable. Okay, here's my variable. This time it's on the right. What's being done to y? It's being subtracted by 7. So what's the opposite of subtracting 7? I'm going to add 7. Is that it? Just like that? I need to keep it balanced, which means I need to add 7 to the other side as well. What happens to -7 and +7? They cancel each other out. So I have y. I bring it down. There's my equal sign. Don't switch the y. Leave it on that side. Then I just have to do the math on the other side. It says -2 plus 7. Same signs or different signs? So when it's different signs, what do? Subtract and take the sign from the larger number. So it's going to be a +5. I could have also said 7 minus 2. Right? All right, check. Write down the original. -2 equals y minus 7. My variable is not unknown anymore. So I have -2 equals, I'm going to substitute in 5 for the y. And then I just have one side that needs to be simplified. This side is already simplified down. 5 minus 7, different signs. Subtract and take the sign from the larger number of 7. Okay, on the back side, multiplying and dividing equations. -8x equals 56. What's being done to x? X is being multiplied by, and the opposite of multiplying -8 is divide by -8. Use the fraction bar. We don't use the elementary symbol. Fraction bar means to divide. So I see -8 divided by +8. That equals 1. It cancels, and I end up with a +1x. I need a positive variable. So -8 divided by -8 cancels to 1x. Perfect. And then 56 divided by -8? -7. So I have x equals 7. You can leave the 1 there if you want. It's not a big deal. And now I check. Write down the original. -8x equals 56. -8 is being multiplied to the x. I'm going to use parentheses to show that multiplication. We know that x is -7. I have one side to simplify. -8 times -7. Say +56. Example 4. What is being done to a? And the opposite of dividing 5 is, I'm going to multiply by 5, multiply by 5. I can use parentheses. I can use the dot. Now, I have a fraction right here. So if I make 5 a fraction, 5/1, notice that the 5 in the numerator is going to cancel with the 5 in the denominator, just like we wanted. And we're left with a +1a. Then -12 times 5. 11 times 5? 12 times 5. -12 times 5 equals positive times a negative. And check. A divided by 5 equals -12. A is not unknown anymore. I know that A is -60. And then -60 divided by 5 is a -12.